members of the press, I have to strongly apologize for late. I was just coming from Kano. I had to go to Jigawa to see the flood damage in that state yesterday, and I didn't come back until about 8. So I was very sorry for the delay in the commencement of this very important event. Gentlemen of the press, it gives me great pleasure to welcome you to this press briefing, which marks the commencement of this year's celebration of the World Food Day. The event is celebrated annually around the world on the 16th of October in more than 150 countries to raise global awareness of the issues behind poverty and hunger. This year's theme, grow, nourish, sustain together our actions, our future, is very apt. And I may wish to add the Nigerian perspective is we grow what we eat and we eat what we grow. Is also apt for this very important occasion. As you are aware, most of the themes adopted by the World Food Day each year are areas that revolve around agriculture. This occasion, therefore, is an all-important event that it provides the platform to think on the gains of the agricultural sector to end hunger, achieve food security, improve nutrition, and promote sustainable agriculture. Let me quickly remind you that the mandate of the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development is to ensure food security, generate employment, promote the production and the supply of raw materials to agriculture, to agro-allied industries, promote market access and competitiveness for foreign exchange earnings, and to facilitate rural and socio-economic development. As a nation, we consider the relevance of eradicating poverty and hunger and transforming our food production system to ensure sustainable food security. Significant progress has therefore been made to improve agricultural productivity since the inception of the present administration. To boost food security, Nigeria has curbed imports and has established a robust rice production program to encourage more rice production at home. Efforts in this direction are starting to show results, as Nigeria is now the largest producer of rice in Africa. And in fact, the 13th in the world from nowhere. A range of policies and initiatives to strengthen the rice and the cassava value chains have been put in place. The economic potential of both livestock and fisheries are also being harnessed and respective value chains selected and targeted for development. In an attempt to diversify the economy, the federal government has continued to renewed focus on agricultural sector. The government has deepened the culture with anchor borrowers program initiative and the ban on the importation of some agro commodities. However, the effect of COVID-19 pandemic and the impact of climate change are contributing to low productivity in the sector. The disruption occasioned by the pandemic and the flood disasters in the country came at a significant cost to Nigerian agricultural production. At present, there are growing concerns on the implication of the crisis on farmers and the food security in Nigeria. In his address to the nation on the extension of COVID-19 pandemic lockdown on Monday, 13th April 2020, His Excellency Muhammadu Buhari, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, directed me, the National Security Advisor, the Vice President, the Chairman, National Food Security Council, and the Chairman, Federal Fertilizer Initiative, to work with the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 to ensure the impact of this pandemic in our 2020 farming season is greatly minimized. To mitigate the impact of COVID on Nigerian food security, I approve the setting up of 7-man joint technical task team on emergency response to COVID. The team, which was replicated nationwide, has helped in facilitating the free and unhindered movement of farmers, food, livestock, and agricultural inputs during the country's lockdown. On the orders of Mr. President also, Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development has coordinated the release of over 70,000 metric tons of grains to vulnerable Nigerians to cushion the effect of the pandemic. This year, hundreds of thousands of hectares of rice, maize, sorghum, and including livestock and fisheries have been affected by flood devastation in the country. A special committee has been set up by the ministry to act on the emerging food issues and come up with strategies to minimize this effect on agricultural production in order to abate food crisis and ensure sustainable food security for the nation. Already a comprehensive flood mitigation and the resilience plan for the affected farming communities nationwide has been finalized by the ministry for consideration and approval by the President. The ministry had raised her national food reserve stock to 109,657 tons, a figure expected to be further increased to about 219,900 metric tons by the end of 2020. Agriculture for food and job, a component of President Muhammadu Buhari's Nigeria Economic Sustainability Plan, was launched in July 2020. The project is targeted at mitigating the negative effect of COVID-19 pandemic on farmers. The goal of the plan is to lead to the creation of about 5 to 10 million jobs in the agricultural sector, to cultivate more land in each state, provide zero-interest loans to farmers, among others. The first phase has been produced about 1.1 million beneficiaries across the states and are being clean for funding, are ready for funding. Out of the 5 million planned beneficiaries for job, agriculture for job, Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development has empowered 1.1 farmer beneficiaries across 36 states and the FCC under the first phase of the implementation. In fact, we have submitted the list to CBN for the release of funds. Since the beginning of 2020, many farming seasons, the ministry has distributed input to states across the country to boost food production. Nigeria last recorded a boost in the production of her major staple crops. According to the data from the ministry, maize and rice production rose from 12.8 to 12.2 and 12.3 to 13.94 and 14.28 million metric tons, respectively, last year. The same is obtainable for cassava, with production increase from 58.7 metric tons in 2018 to 73.91 metric tons in 2019, and even projected to rise to 93.68 by 2023. Growth has also been recorded for groundnut, tomatoes, sorghum production, cattle, beef, milk, and the fish production also rose by about 166, 146, and 11% respectively between 2018 and 2019. The Central Bank of Nigeria and National Bureau of Statistics report indicate that Nigerian national agricultural import bill also reduced from 1.2 to 1.1 billion naira. The administration of President Muhammadu Buhari is not resting on its short on this, addressing the challenges of the agricultural sector. The federal government's rules agro-processing productivity has an enhancement livelihood improvement project appeal has set aside 600 billion as loan support to farmers across the country. No fewer than 2.4 million farmers are expected to benefit from the loan, and which has zero interest. The gesture will support farmers in the country to improve their productivity, aimed at boosting the country's agricultural sector. The support was to complement the federal government policy on agriculture, which include promoting food security improve farmers' production, and also increase export of our agricultural commodities. It is clear from the foregoing that if the agricultural sector must be made more protective and sustainable, we must also be prepared to invest massively in order to quickly rise the call against looming food crisis as already predicted by the World Bank, FAO, and the AFDB. Thank you and God bless you. May I wish to add that in spite of the COVID pandemic, the only sector in the Nigerian economy that shows increase and rise in growth is agriculture, followed, of course, by commercial banks. And you know why the commercial banks are making money, because they trade in foreign exchange and the food for direct consumption. But otherwise, all the sectors in the Nigerian economy show a decline in rent arising from the COVID-19. But agriculture at least shows some growth. Thank you very much, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I think the issue raised by NTA with regard to flood was valid. About 12 states have been affected, but the most serious affected states are Kebbi and Jigawa State. And these are large rice producing states. I visited Kebbi about 3 weeks ago, and yesterday I visited Jigawa and I saw the devastation. In fact, the devastation in Jigawa was more apparent because you can see the rice still struggling to keep afloat. But in Kebbi, it's total washout. And this is a key state in the production of rice, and we are concerned about that. Of course, there is flood in Para, in Niger, and other places. Another scenario is that, ironically, there was drought in the south. About 5-6 states have been affected: Edo, Ebonyi, I think Imo, Anambra, for about a month and a half. Some didn't get rain, and I think some of their maize and rice got lost. So we are all taking that into consideration. But judging from the report I received all over the country, the situation is not all that bad. And you can see a lot has been put into the farming business this year. Serious money has gone into it. And a lot of production of rice, maize, sorghum and millet, cassava and the rest are all on the rise. And we believe at the end of the day, when we net out, probably we may be able to bridge the gap. How do we bridge the gap? I think that is your main question. We have already intimated the presidency about the situation in these states affected by flood, and we are going to support them with good seeds and other inputs, especially rice and maize, and we are also gunning for dry season farming. Under the Economic Sustainability Committee, of which the government has approved a 600 billion naira package, will make sure that the dry season farmers are funded as quickly as possible so that they can start. In fact, I have noticed I visited Hadej yesterday, some they have already started planting maize and other crops so that we can be able to mitigate the effect of the flood. COVID has affected some the effort of the farmers, particularly in replacing what they have lost in the flood, will be complemented by the support that we are going to give them, both financially and also in terms of direct import provision. With regard to issue of food reserve, we had about 119,000 tons in 2019, of which we gave about 70,000 tons to NEMA for distribution arising from COVID. We also gave about 5,000 tons to poultry farmers to alleviate their suffering. And I think we went into the market and replenished the store to at the level of about 30,000, and we are continuing. And we believe that the figure we indicated of 219 in the next year will be achievable by God's grace. But more importantly, if you watch very carefully, the increase in price over the last 3-4 months was largely caused, one, by the pandemic, COVID pandemic, because of the restriction of movements of food from one area to another. Number two, there was panic buying. Number three, there was some level of hoarding, not serious, but there was. Number four, generally around June, July, every year, prices tend to go up because the farmers were sizing how the rainy season that year is going to be. But after that, they will start releasing their stock. As of today, the prices of all commodities are coming down. And I believe in the next 2-3 months, it may not take even 2 months, most of the prices will level up to a more comfortable level. I will not predict and say it is going to be that, but from what I have seen, it will be in a very comfort position for the prices of commodities. Rice in particular, to which paddy used to be bought at about 20,000, has now come down to about 12,000. The milled rice, I think, is coming probably between 14,000 to 15,000, and in the next 1 month, it may even come down, considering the rice that we have witnessed being produced in many other states, especially the upland rice. So we anticipate a reduction in the price of rice. The issue is this: when I quote the price, I am quoting the price of Kano, because that's where the barometer for prices of all commodities is gauged, and it will trickle down gradually. I promise you that you will see it within the next 1 month. You will see some leveling in the prices. I think somebody talked about guaranteed minimum price. I think I am for the national pricing policy that will give farmers minimum guaranteed price, below which the government will come in and purchase the commodities in order to improve the price for the farmers so that they are not discouraged to produce the next season. If it is expensive, you use the reserve that you have to cushion the effect of the price. I think we are working on this policy seriously, and we will be able to come up. But some people are talking about the bringing back marketing boards or grain board. I think we have passed that stage. This institution was set up to monitor prices because against foreign prices or other things like that. But today, you can know the price of any commodity in the world and where it is being sold. You don't need those agencies to go and set up another bureaucracy that will become a problem for us in the future. I think somebody talked of borrowed grains from ECOWAS. We didn't borrow grains from ECOWAS, please. You didn't. It's simply a protocol arrangement. In fact, we give ECOWAS grains. You know, normally what happens is this: under the ECOWAS protocol, each country is supposed to stock certain level and pay for it. And that's exactly what we did. In times of difficulty, whether it is a poor country or a rich country, you are given that grace under protocol arrangement. And we didn't ask for it. They just decided under the normal ECOWAS protocol to give us this grace. And in any case, anybody that is a Nigerian knows that we feed the other nations in the West African sub-region, not them feeding us. That is a fact of the matter. My view, at least we have 70% of the GDP of the West African sub-region. So there is no question of any country bailing us out on this. It's simply a mere protocol. I think somebody talked about corruption and whatever you may call it. I don't know. I think we, you know, when you talk of these contractors, you have to pity this ministry. In 2018, the ministry got release of its capital, of its all this 100% virtually from the Ministry of Finance. But how on earth that you can accumulate within that year about 50 billion liability? How? Well, we are trying to take the bull by the horn against all odds, and we stated the facts. And that we don't have even the money to pay. And even we have the money to pay, it's illegal for the ministry to pay. It has become a liability, and only the Federal Ministry of Finance will pay. We have already forwarded the list to the Ministry of Finance to pay. And it's left to the Ministry of Finance to pay. It's no more the responsibility of the Ministry of Agriculture. We felt very bad that this action was taken, and the people that did sing were singing a different song. But the facts on the ground are there for anybody to know. So that's that. I think when you are talking about diversifying of agriculture, I think by and large, not only this ministry, the government has done a lot in this regard. Take the agro-processing. In this country now, we have probably about 70 integrated mills with capacity of 100 to 600 tons per day, employing people between 200 to 300 to 400 people per day, direct, and producing the rice that we eat. In fact, one could imagine what would have happened with COVID around if we had not taken this decision 2 years ago. In the first place, we would not have even the foreign exchange to buy the rice. And if even if you have, most of the countries have closed their borders. But all the same, the effort of the government has paid. We were able to produce our own rice and to eat our own rice. You can say, of course, at a high price, yes, but calculating the price of bag for rice against the exchange rate of the dollar, you will know whether this country is faring well or not. So this temporary, but I think as we continue, as the expansion of the agro-allied industries continue, you will find that we will have a level ground in terms of prices and in terms of diversification. Of course, we lost our bearing in the 80s when we allowed our agro-allied industries to collapse. Textiles, for example, we lost over 145 textile mills. Agro-processing, fruit processing plants, oil milling plants, tanneries. We have lost them. In those days, Kano, Kaduna, Lagos, Onitsha, Aba were running 3 shifts. It's not a problem that started today. And any one of them, if you are going to be fair to this administration, it takes you a long time to build. But you can destroy what you build in one day. So Nigerians have to be a little bit patient. As we move along, I think our agricultural sector is at the forefront of diversification and also improves the farmer's income. Not only that, there are other efforts in other directions. For example, the livestock development. which has been politicized for nothing. You have a livestock industry with an asset base of nearly 33 trillion naira. Which country on earth will play a game with that kind of asset? It's a national asset. But it becomes a subject of discussion in churches and the mosques. Oh yes, which is complete nonsense. It's just urban politics. This is our national asset. The cattleman that you see is rare. He is only in his custodian, but it's part of the GDP of the nation. We are planning in this ministry, and watch my word, in the next 2 years we will ban the importation of milk into this country. Because, and ask me why, we have 25 million cows in this country. We consume 5 million liters per day. If you keep 5 million cows to give you 1 liter, you are home and dry. The issue is now logistics, which we have started by setting up a milk processing plant across the country. And luckily enough, the private sector is also taking up this challenge. And I see no reason why we should import milk in the next 2 years. In the next 2 years, we should stop importation of milk. The same thing with the fish. We have a lot of fish resources in this country. But people still are importing this frozen fish. You don't know how long it even lasted. And feeding our children with it. While we have fresh fish in that, we have all the facilities. God has given us all the facilities to produce fish in this country. But we are so overwhelmed into importation. Our psyche has gone into eating what is produced outside, not what is produced in this country. Why? Because we are not patriotic, or what? Or there are some interest groups that make money out of foreign exchange and other related items. We have to be serious about this. It's our country. And then we have to produce what we eat and eat what we produce. That's the reality on the ground. So, I am giving you food for thought. You can go and write whatever you want, but that's the reality on the ground. Yes. You know? I don't know whether I have answered most of the... well, 12,000 is for the paddy rice, not for the milled rice. The milled rice is going to come down. I am a farmer. About 2 months ago, I was selling my paddy rice at 12,000, it moved 14,000. I allowed it to rest at 14,000. But then, you know, the children of nowadays, my son said, Baba, you are a fool. I said, what? Yeah. They are selling it at a farm gate 17,000. Why are you selling your own at 14,000? I said, I want to be a true Nigerian. He said, no. True Nigerian will go for the highest. So, to be honest, it reached up to about 25,000 for the paddy. But now it's getting to about 12,000. And in fact, it will fall down. In spite of the flood, a lot of upland rice has been cultivated, and the yield appears to be very good. Yes. So, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. I wish I am able to answer some of your questions.
Thank you very much.
I was just thinking what